Hello, everyone, and welcome to a buildingSMART members webinar. Thank you for joining. My name is Ra Twilly, and I will be your moderator today. This session is brought to you in collaboration with Catenda, who are multinational members of buildingSMART International and have contributed enormously to the topic of openBIM and the development of standards with their software. Thanks also to Solibri and JaJo's for their contributions to openBIM and involvement in the buildingSMART community. Today's webinar is titled How to Achieve Seamless Data Exchange, JaJo's Use of openBIM with Solibri and Catenda. Our speakers are Daan, Innovation and Digitalization Manager at JaJo's, Ken Good, Customer Success Manager at Solibri, and Håvard Brekke, CSO and co-founder at Catenda. The webinar is scheduled to last 1 hour with a short Q&A at the end. The webinar is being recorded and will be made available for replay on our website and YouTube channel. I would also like to remind you that your phone lines will remain muted for the duration of this webinar. If you have any questions or wish to make comments, please use the chat function located within the control panel and say who the question is addressed to. I would also like to bring to your attention that buildingSMART is committed to ensuring that participation in the development of standards is unrestricted, and the process for their adoption is transparent, and standards that are developed do not favor any particular provider and are open, non-binding, and accessible to all. Please take note of our antitrust code of conduct. And now I'll hand over to Håvard.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone listening. I'm very happy about this webinar. I'm very excited to soon hand over the mic to Daan of JaJo's. He's the main star and attraction of this webinar, and we'll talk about how he is normally doing this so that he achieves a seamless collaboration. We need to move the slides a little bit back. Thank you, Maya, for doing that. I'd like to just start off very quickly on a little bit about what's behind the use of openBIM and why that's important for us. I think I think it's something that's deeply ingrained in Catenda, and one of the things that we really look for is being open, which is kind of core in order to share data, in order to be transparent, in order to collaborate and empower. And it's also a really big core of what buildingSMART International is all about. Just very quickly on some of the things that are important when you're talking about openness. As you saw briefly, Daan Prescott is a Canadian who's been studying and researching what openness should be and is all about. And he has 4 principles that he shared in a TED Talk out there. But before I get there, I want to talk about this picture right here. This is taken by a colleague of mine who went to a conference in the US, and this is in Florida, to talk about digitalization of our workflows. And he took this picture and sent this to his family, saying it was, arrived safely, everything's good, looks like a nice place, etc. The next day, his mother was watching the television and took the next picture from her TV. And as you in a moment will be able to see, it was a very different weather at the time. And this is a stark reminder of the climate change that's going on, that things can happen in extreme weather conditions. So, of course, every attendant at the seminar had to evacuate the premises, and the conference didn't happen. But he arrived home safely, which we're all very glad of. And it was a stark reminder of what's going on for us. So obviously, the key point of what we want to do is to make our industry 100% sustainable. It would be really nice if you could build things and not impact our planet at all. And then Daan Tapscott, his 4 principles of openness. So how openness can sort of bring value to us, and why we think that's important in order to get to a sustainable business. First one is collaboration. And an example of someone who collaborated and got incredible returns on that is a guy who bought a mine supposed to have a lot of gold in it. I think he got the mine quite nicely and cheap, but he didn't have any sort of knowledge of how to find the gold. So he sent out and started collaborating with physicists, and this is not working very well. It's jumping several slides at a time. Let's see what happens now. But anyways, this guy who bought the mine, he had help and collaborated with others, and suddenly he had a lot of return on investment for his gold mine. I think he spent $500 million on collaborating, and he got back $10 billion, what have you. And transparency, which is the second sort of principle of openness, is used by Zappos. They're a clothing brand or a clothing online seller of clothing. What they do is they invite customers into their office, they expose their financials, and they have a really transparent policy, and that works for them. They seem to attract a lot of customers based on that. It gives a lot of trust to people using them. The third principle of openness is sharing. And IBM had a very sort of interesting experience with that. They shared $400 million worth of source code, and they got several billion dollars back. They shared a lot of open source in the Linux kernel that's used in all the Android phones, for example, is used a lot about that. But they got a lot of return by sharing stuff. And finally, the fourth principle of openness is empowerment. So it allows being open is a powerful concept that empowers other to get further or achieve more or reach your goals faster. And this happened and was a great example in the tragedy in Haiti, where they got earthquakes. And what happened there was that volunteers built a lot of maps to empower the helpers to be more effective when they were helping out with the earthquakes. And that's a little bit of a teaser or a wedding appetizer for how openness can create value for your business and any other business. And now over to you, Ken Good, which is a customer manager at Solibri.
Thank you, Håvard. I've shared the screen. Let's just check. Yes, all good to go. So, hi folks, I'm Ken from Solibri. I'm based in the UK, and I've been here at Solibri for about 8 years now, but I actually spent 17 years before that working in the BIM world. Before it was actually BIM, it wasn't really globally known as BIM back in those days. Yeah, the previous 17 years I spent in the ArchiCAD world, which I know it's hard to believe because I look so young, but it's true. So back to Solibri, the company Solibri. The product that we're going to be talking about is our office product, Solibri Office. We've also got another couple of products in the product family, Solibri Sites, which is all about quantities data extraction, that side of things. And in a Solibri Anywhere, which is our viewer product that helps with team collaboration because it can be used, each of the products can be used together on the same projects, etc. But Solibri Office is all about model checking. The early days it was called Solibri Model Checker, and basically it's a tool for model checking that does quality assurance and various other bits and pieces as well. So you'll see I'm going to talk about some of the history of Solibri and talk about how we have been tied very closely with IFC and openBIM and various different terms that have changed names over the years. But we've been doing it for some time. So just recently we had our 25th anniversary. So this is a photo of the original 3 founders of the company 25 years ago. And if you pay attention to the guy in the middle, he's going to reappear just shortly through various different stages. So just a little bit of a few items to pick out on our timeline. You can see that the whole concept of model checking actually started a long time ago, before the software, before really the capabilities were there to tackle it, but the concept was there. And then as IFC developed, the idea grew, the company was founded. Within the development of the newer IFC 2X based versions, we were able to produce the first beta release of Solibri Model Checker. So it was actually officially born, well, this century, but only just. But even at an early stage, if we look at this oldie school screenshot, that I really wish I knew more history of what version and what operating system and everything else it was. But even at this stage, there's items in there that are clearly recognizable today still, with the rule sets, the descriptions, the parameters, the 3D view, the toolbars. And those are still common themes that we see today in Solibri Office. Moving on a little bit beyond those early days, the relationship and how we actually worked with IAI as it was in the early days before it became buildingSMART, that started early on, 2002, and then as names changed, 2X3 became the sort of predominant version that was available. We've been involved through all these versions, and then 2009, the start of the development of the BCF standards. We worked on that, or Passy worked on that, so the guy in the middle from the previous photo worked on that along with Tekla to develop that standard, and today that is now our preferred communication format, whether it's an offline file or whether it's through the cloud to some sort of online CDE. But coming back to the guy in the middle, still in the middle, still wearing a jumper. There is a story behind that, but I'll leave Passy to explain that one. So, in effect, this relationship's continued over the years, but in 2022, Passy was actually awarded an honorary status as a buildingSMART fellow for, and I need to read this bit, significant contributions to the work of buildingSMART and the advancement of BIM. So basically, Passy's been involved through all of these years and has pushed many different things, and he's still involved today and continues with pushing new developments, new buildingSMART standards like IFC 5 or IDS more recently. But the main thing to summarise is Solibri, our place in all of this is that we allow project partners to validate, coordinate the various different models from design, engineering, different disciplines, wherever it is. Doesn't matter what authoring tool they use. Because we're basing it on IFC, people can use a preferred tool, export to IFC, and then that's the basis for the various different bits and pieces of checking that can go on from there. We can also communicate on all of the major CDE platforms. We can use BCF, the Documents API, the OpenCDE standards. We're trying to be as open as possible to allow as many people as possible from different backgrounds, different platforms, all to be able to communicate and collaborate on projects. And even lately, the IDS, the information delivery specification, is becoming more to the forefront of things. We also support that platform as well. So what I'm going to do is, that's a brief history of Solibri. There's no point me talking about it because we have Daan here who can give his insights from a user's perspective. So I'm going to hand over to Daan from JaJo's, and he can share these insights from his own perspective. Okay. Thank you.
There you go. That is me.
There we are.
That was me.
Yes.
Thanks. So thanks, Ken. I was saying good to see Passy contributing so much to openness in the construction industry, and Solibri being a big part of it. So let me share my screen here. There you go. Everybody can see my screen? See? Well, don't ever see us. Håvard, thanks, mate. All right, so we're good to go. So let's have some use cases on how JaJo's uses openBIM for our collaboration. Not too much about me, but this is me. I am Daan. I have over 20 years of experience, more than 10 in the BIM industry. And related to this, I have co-created the BCF infographic, which we will talk about in a minute. Some fun facts: I play guitar. I was actually born on the day that Bob Marley died. So maybe that's something about me, who knows? I like to believe in reincarnation. A little bit about JaJo. JaJo is a construction company based in the Netherlands. The figures are here on the right. We are operating in the EU and in the Caribbean, about 33 companies, 1,100 people. What is a little bit unique about JaJo is that we contribute to the entire circle of the real estate business. As we have companies in our group which develop, we construct, we design and construct, we maintain, we restore, and we also harvest materials out of buildings, and then closing that circle and redeveloping those materials. So being our slogan being closing the circle together, that is talking about circularity, which you see here, and the circle of real estate. And together is all about collaboration. So I really love our slogan, because it says a lot about who we are and what we do and what we believe in. So why do we choose openBIM? Well, there are 4 big reasons. We don't discriminate. It seems like a very open door, but we cannot discriminate in how our partners kind of software that they use. As we love our designers and suppliers, and they are specialized in whatever they do, and we will never tell them to do something else. So we respect their choices of the software that they choose, that whatever suits them. And in that sense, we also love working together. And if these are our values, then openBIM is the only way to go. That's the only way we can properly collaborate with all our partners. We are a general contractor. That means we probably do 10% of the work. And if that is a fact, then you know that the main business of your business is collaboration and managing. And you have to respect your partners in whatever they decide is best for their proper business. And we really believe and experience that being open is the only way forward with that. So that is in our core. That is also in our core when we decide to choose software vendors. In this case, Solibri and Catenda. So let's move on. So if those are our values, again, I kind of said this already, that means we need to choose openBIM. And the 2 main factors that we're going to talk about today are IFCs and BCF. A lot of people have heard of IFCs. Not so many people have heard of BCF, but I've probably used it, but don't know that it is actually called BCF. We're going to talk about that a little bit today. So we use IFCs obviously to exchange BIM models. Again, whether you use Tekla, Revit, ArchiCAD, and so on, it doesn't matter. You're very free to use whatever you want, but when you're exchanging and collaborating, we use open standards. And that goes the same for the communication. We use BCF to communicate between those different vendors. To touch a little bit more about that specialization. So our CDE, in our case, that's Catenda, we have our open standards there for everybody to use. CDE, for the people who don't know what that is, it's called Common Data and Environment. To simplify that is an online space where you put all your documents and your data for everybody to access. And again, when I say everybody, it needs to be open because not everybody has Tekla or Revit or whatever. So you need to be open. So that's where we store all our documents. But again, we are a GC, so we have specialized people working with us. And just as you probably get better cheese or from a cheesemaker or better meat from a butcher, than going to the supermarket. And that is exactly what I'm talking about here, because we believe Solibri is one of is our butcher, if you will, specialized in what they do, model checking, instead of going to a big vendor which tells you what to do. We believe in getting specialized companies together, collaborating with them in an open way, and therefore getting the best for our buck, really. So that's what we believe. I hope that makes sense to everybody. Now, let me go forward with the use case for people who don't know what this actually means, haven't seen before. So we're going to show you a little video. How do we collaborate between those tools and why openness is so important? So what we're doing here, we're using Solibri, and it's asking us, all right, let's connect to Catenda. So we're talking about two vendors, both based on open standards. I am now in Catenda. I'm opening a couple of models. And I say, yes, let's go. So we're synchronizing those two models in Catenda. That part was actually real time, so you can see how quick that is. That's really amazing. And what you see there on the left is the same name and revision number as in Catenda. So that means there is no discrepancy between what we're doing. So that's already awesome. Okay, what you're seeing here, maybe it's going a little quick, but what you're seeing here, faking to upload a new revision. And then it uploads that in the other software as well. And then you can see there, it has the same revision number again as in Catenda. Can you see my mouse, by the way? Can you see this? Håvard, can you tell me yes or no? Can you? No, you cannot see my, okay. All right, but anyway, so what you see here, again, is the same revision. So we're collaborating between two platforms, which is, again, in my sense, really amazing. So what you did see is synchronizing models. It could have been documents, could have been PDF or whatever, but we synchronize models. What you didn't see is uploading or downloading. So this is what's happening. We're going up and down without any downloading into your Explorer and then uploading into somewhere else and a lot of work and placing documents at different positions. We're synchronizing together. And I think this is very powerful. This makes our engineers' work very comfortable. So let's move on from this. So how does that help us? It helps us eliminate discussion on revisions, again, because we're synchronizing. There is no downloading, there is no discussion, and it prevents unnecessary mistakes. Buddha on the left here is talking about a single source of truth. So that he's talking about Catenda in this way. Who knows? So that's our single source of truth. That's where all the documents and the data is, and all our partners are very open and invited to get their data there and synchronize it to their specialized programs or vendors, if you will. So that's the way we like to work. All right. So I'm a bit of a dreamer, and I know that Håvard is also dreaming with me. This what I'm going to say now, because we've talked about this before. Let's go. So I told you guys we're having a CDE with our specialized, so our butchers and our cheese makers around it. So to put this into other terms, we use Catenda. Some other people use the Autodesk Construction Cloud. Some people use Tekla, Trimble Connect. There are many other CDEs have surrounded their specialized programs. That is great. Again, we don't discriminate. We love that people actually working together. But wouldn't it be awesome if it doesn't matter if you're using the ACC, Trimble, or Catenda, because those documents are also being synchronized between them. So what if we have not one CDE, but 3 or more, and they all talk to each other? This seems like a far-fetched idea, but it isn't. It's actually already a reality. This is possible right now. Again, based on openCDE, this is a buildingSMART standard. Again, open standards, it's working. This is exactly what you saw just now between Catenda and Solibri. This backend is being used to collaborate between two vendors. And you can also use this between two CDEs. So if anybody from those brands I just mentioned is here, I encourage you to open up open standards so we can talk to each other. There is no need to block data or documents. We love to collaborate, and collaboration is about openness. So that's my dream. And hopefully we can all accomplish this in the near future. All right. So use case number 2. Again, openBIM, again, effective communication is important. So that means that we have an open standard to communicate about BIM. And that is the BIM collaboration format, BCF. So how does that help us? It helps to prevent miscommunication, to reduce mistakes, to create understanding. And when you understand each other, that creates collaboration. Understanding is key. That means you have to talk to each other, you have to discuss, you have to show things, and then people start, hey, I understand what he's talking about. That's when you actually can start collaborating. And as most of us are very visual, and you will see in a moment that this is a very helpful way of communicating together. So what is BCF? Again, Buddha loves it because to him it's also the thing, or her, I don't know. To it, it's a single source of truth. So that means it's open, it's an open standard, and it's communicating between objects. And this is very new, this concept, because a lot of people are still using PDFs, which is great, and I draw a big circle and say, change this, and then they email it to you, and then you're, go to work, and hopefully you do the right thing. What if we could do that on a BIM way? And I will show you what that means. So now we're using Solibri again. This is where I use some advanced rule setting, but we're not going to talk about that today. We're talking about this. So I created an issue. As you see here, there is a concrete wall and there are 3 pipes going straight through it. That in by itself is interesting enough. So we're actually visualizing a problem. All right. Next step is to create that topic or issue. Those names are kind of mixed together. So we're creating a name, we're creating a description of that topic. We are then, when the description is finished, we are going to add a status, so metadata, and a responsibility. And that is obviously very key because, again, when you're emailing it, you're not really sure where that is all going. But if you're now attaching somebody who's responsible, that is very powerful because you know exactly who's responsible for what, and this is the key part. These are the components. All right, so you see here components, and those are the things you see on the screen, and those are obviously when we're talking about BIM, these are the most important. All right, and now the best part is again communication between 2 vendors. We're synchronizing this through openBIM, in our case with Catenda, and here you see all the communications I have in this project. I click on that topic, and what you see here is the same name I just typed in, the same description, the same status, the responsibility of that person or group, and all the objects. So I'm using 2 different softwares, and I'm doing exactly the same thing, and we're talking about exactly these objects. And this is in a different vendor, but I'm straight away going to this problem within my BIM. So that's obviously amazing because then I know exactly what the guy who made this issue is talking about, because he's talking about this wall, not a wall, this exact wall, and these 3 pipes. So same view, different software. And I think it's been out there for a while, but we see that a lot of people are still not using these types of communication. And then we feel this really is a great thing. So to help you out a little bit and to help us out and to help everybody out, kind of a colleague and myself created this leaflet or this infographic. It's a 2-pager. So this is page 1 on the left. And if you think, oh, well, I like this type of communication, we are kind of ready to help. And if you copy that link into what you see on the screen now, there's a link to it. And this is actually already copied in multiple languages. It started in the Netherlands. It was then copied to Spanish and English, and I think it's maybe German, I'm not entirely sure. But go out and check that website. There's also some manuals which will tell you and help you out how to use the BCF in your vendor software. So volunteers got together and created manuals for instance, Solibri, but also for Revit and for Tekla and ArchiCAD and all those kind of systems. We have manuals which tell you how to use BCF properly so you can communicate in an open way. So that'll help you out. Finally, I will kind of hope to inspire you that open communication and working with this open standard is not just done with clash detection or the things that Solibri is known for the best, but we at JaJo use it in a couple of different ways as well. We use it to do some maintenance. We use for a project management tool. And we actually restored a 2,500 stones restoration wall, which is awesome. So I'll show you a couple of 3 videos. We hope to inspire you on how to use this system in a different way. Here we go. This is a little bit in Dutch, so I will talk right over it. All right, so this is a system that we're trying out to do some asset management. This is one of our offices that you will see here. So we're going through the dashboard, and eventually we're going to simulate if I have a problem in my building. So this is now a web version, but this is also on your phone, so you can scan the QR code and go directly to your room and create a problem or a leak or whatever it is in your building. So doing digital twin kind of stuff. So we can walk around the BIM, that's great. So there are 2 functions here. 2 main functions. One function is there. That button shows the problem, and then there is a documents button. The documents button is really cool. It seems so simple, but the fact is that anybody who's ever done maintenance and gets a call when, hey, there's a problem with this door, their first question is what door, and then the person on the line will also say, yeah, exactly, what door? I have no idea. Come over here and fix it. So you drive over there and look at the door, like, yeah, you're right, it is broken. And then he writes down whatever he needs and goes back and drives back again, and hopefully he does that relatively okay. But what you saw here is you do that same thing, but you click on literally the door that is broken, and the documentation of that door and everything around it is directly available. And that is huge. I've talked to my guys doing maintenance and say, well, this is going to save us a lot of time. So that's step 1. That is actually not the BCF part, but just a cool feature that I love to show you guys. So the BCF part is now coming up, because you can also obviously make an issue or a topic out of this. So you click the little drill, and here you have some categories, and it's just preset some categories from what's going on. Well, the handle is broken. That's Dutch for handle is broken. And you can add some photos and do whatever you want, and add some text. Again, for the people who paid close attention to the previous video, it's kind of similar, because I'm telling who's responsible, I'm giving a description, giving a name, and this is what you see here. So this is BCF again. It looks different, but the thing is exactly the same. So there is the description, that's Dutch for description. Oh, you can't see my mouse, right? No. But there's description here, there's who asked for it, who's responsible, when is this created, there's a little video, a little picture there as well. There's a status, as you see in the right bottom. These are exactly the same as BCF. So it's an open standard, which is again important to us. And why is it important to us? Again, this is part of it because it flies directly to the object where it's referred to. And the second best part is, again, this is all the list of all the topics. The second best part is that because it's open, the programming to our software, to our ERP system, is a lot easier, because we know exactly what to expect in the programming, in the code, because it's already there. It's written down in the open standards. So this is what we do. So we create tickets for our buildings, open standards, and that go directly to our own ERP, which is then made easy because it's open. And that makes it a lot more cost effective than programming another program. That's use case, that's 1. Well, yeah, I think that's the same, so I'll go to the next one. So number 2 is, how to translate that one? Let's just say project management. What you see here is project management. What we see here is a couple of projects. On the left, you see like 6 of our projects, and on the right, you see topics of that project. So instead of what you saw before, we go one project and you see all the issues. Here we can see all of our projects at once. So that's quite cool. So we use all the data we have in Catenda, fly that and access that in our Power BI dashboard. And again, because it's open, it's easy. And this is just one project. It's the Mitari project you saw just now. Here again, it's the same data, but it's without entering Catenda. We have our own Power BI dashboards, having access to all our Catenda projects. And there we can maintain for what the status is of our documents. So what the use case here is, you see like names, These are names of documents that we need to finish at some point in the project. So it's like a project management tool. And we can change the status, and we can change who's responsible, and we have milestones and what so on. And because we can do this is for the project team, which you see here, and just now at the Power BI, it's like our management can have proper insights in all the projects in one dashboard, and hey, what is the status of all the projects? And so we can have some a lot better insight. So that's what we do here. Hopefully that's a fun use case for you guys. So let me just finish that video, which pretty much shows you exactly what I said. Again, open standards, and we can do everything. We have a lot better insight. All right, final video to inspire you a little bit is not this one. There you go. Is restoring an ancient wall. That wall is about 1,000 years old. I guess that's not ancient. That's medieval, I suppose. I'm not entirely sure there. It's older than me, so that's old. So let me show you that video. So we registered every stone. Let me just translate that for you. We have a better insight in the entire project. We are working smarter. And again, that's Buddha again, single source of truth. That's what that said. And that's me meeting our project manager. Welcome to this project. And we have the restoration project here, which looks awesome, right? If you guys are into restoration, this is amazing. This is an old wall, again, almost 1,000 years old. All stones need to be taken apart and need to be stored. And you see that here, 2,500 stones are taken off that wall. You see the back and temporarily stored. So how do we do that? We take one out. You see the guys taking one out. They put a QR code on that stone. We scan that QR code and go directly to the Catenda system, which then shows you all the information of that stone. You see that here? It's a QR code. We can scan that, and it goes directly into the system. And the system also says where those stones are stored temporarily. There you go. We're accessing it, going directly into our Catenda system, and we add some data to it. We can add pictures. There you go. And here is the temporary storage. Again, they can scan it and they know where they are. Right now, this guy is restoring one of the stones. QR code is still there. While it's being restored, we change the status doing in restoration or whatever the status is. Goes back to its temporary storage and then goes forward. So that's cool. So how do we use BCF? Again, this is the pages on as well. These are all the stones. Properly filtered, we can pick out any stones. Again, the same things you saw before with status and who's responsible and when and how and where. It's all there. What you see here is the BIM part. We actually created that model in that wall in our model. So we're talking about that stone. So where is this stone? The stone looks like this. And that's the 1st of February. Let me just pause that for sake of argument. Go back 1 second. Oh, you can see it right there on the left. And then now, and the 7th of May is placed back. So we're doing, this is the 7th of May, and now this is the new version. So this thing is already placed back. So and there you can show the history of all the changes that's been made. We are tracking the changes for those people who cannot read Dutch. Let me tell you what happened. He took out the stone. He then placed it into storage F11. It was then changed to stored. 12 days later, the status was changed to we need to reuse this stone. It's possible. And then somebody changed their mind. No, we'll replace it. No, we're going to reuse it. Somebody had the change of heart. Eventually, it was 18th of April. It was said it's good to go to place back. And then you see the 7th of May that it is actually placed back with a picture of the final wall. So we have a complete history of what happened here, and this is important because our clients are actually asking for this. What is going on? What's happening? And so this is a great tool. So we're using existing software to make this amazing piece of simple admin, because admin needs to be simple, right? And again, we use open standards and BCF to create a management tool. That is what we did. And again, that is me on a trip with the guys on the left is Håvard. Maybe you recognize him. That was a great day. But to collaborate effectively with everybody, there is only one way, and that is to work open. And again, at JaJo, we believe that, and that's why we chose Catenda, because they have the same beliefs, and that goes the same for Solibri, all based on open standards. And so openBIM for us is the only way to collaborate with our partners. Again, being a GC, that is the only thing we do. So I cannot recommend this highly enough to you guys. And that is my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dan. Brilliant presentation, and really exciting seeing all those examples and what's possible through what you do. We've had some questions already coming in. First question from Christian Frey. See if I can bring that up for everybody. Would the asset administration shell IEC 63278 be a useful extension for BCF to bring in asset information in a standardized way?
I honestly don't know what he's talking about, so maybe else can answer this. I don't know what IEC 63278 is.
I'm not too familiar with that either. I quickly looked it up. It wouldn't surprise me if that was a potential to do that. It's a clever idea, I think. And BCF is such a simple thing, so adding something that has asset information or administration capabilities seems like a smart idea based on what Daan just presented as well. But I'm not too familiar with it, but that's my first gut answer.
Great. That sounds good then.
Okay, thank you both. Thank you, Christian. Question from Paula. Hi, in Solibri, why is the connection with Catenda not immediately visible among the available integrations, as Trimble, Connect, BIM 360, SharePoint, or OneDrive is? I can see Catenda in the CDE list of the document API section and not in the available integrations section. Any thoughts on that, Ken?
Yeah. It's yeah, I don't know the technical answer. It's down to the way the standards work, but it's something that is continually evolving. So genuinely, I don't know the reason for that specifically, but it's something that the connection's there and available, but there is an extra step that you have to go through to make that connection.
Actually, the answer is already in the question here, right? Because
it's the documents API. It's not. Sorry.
Yeah, because the first three, the Trimbles and the BIM, aren't based on open APIs. They're based on specific APIs, and that's why they're probably there. And the rest, anything behind the list of open APIs, are based on open APIs.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is the answer. I don't know if there's any other technical magic behind it, but it's just the way the connection's established. The main thing is it's there.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Just a comment from David Reynolds. As a facility manager, this makes my day. So obviously that's clearly appreciated. Another question from Sam Holler. Great presentation, Dan. Love your dream, but I got one question. Looking at the Open CDE, isn't BCF also a small part of an Open CDE? Being able to exchange issue management between all or most CDE programs, model checkers, and CAD software. What more should fall under an Open CDE, and how can we help make your dream come true?
Well, actually, BCF, I don't think BCF is part of the Open CDE. The fact is that BCF is already collaborating with multiple vendors is great. What Open CDE does is helping to create, to synchronize documents. So BCF is synchronizing communication between multiple vendors, and this is working quite well. But what the Open CDE does is creating documents, models, and whatnot between different vendors, and that is still very limited. And that's the dream. Am I correct here, Håvard?
I think formally Open CDE API is covering the authentication part where you log in and kind of identifies who you are. It's covering the BCF part where you exchange issues, and it's covering the documentation sharing part. I think the next step here would be to start sharing actual IFC data. So give me all the doors you have, or give me the doors in the latest revision, or give me whatever. That will be an interesting next step, and start really sharing data.
Okay, thank you both. Question from me, just wondering what could be done to improve seamless data exchange for the future, do you think, Dan? It's great to see all the things you can do, and are there areas you think could be improved?
I'm sorry, you were asking me, you were a little off and it was very noisy at my end here. So could you repeat the question?
The question was, having looked at all the things that you can do, and it looks great, the integrations, are there things that you think can be improved?
Right. Well, yeah, that's probably repeating the thing that the open CDE, and that is the big dream. That is the next step. Because again, there are a lot of our partners use like whatever vendors it is. Again, they've been mentioned, and the things that needs to be improved, that we need to talk to each other better. So that whatever, if it's the open way, I hope so, open CDE, but somehow we need to be able to connect, whether it's Dialux, Autodesk, or Trimble, it doesn't matter. We should all be one. And there's the pie is big enough for those vendors to make their money and still be open to everybody. There's no need to close up.
So do you think for the kind of biggest obstacles for that happening is kind of seeing examples like what you do and just showing the benefit to as many people as possible to kind of show how it does work?
I hope so, because it also financially it makes more sense, because the example I gave for the integration for our project management part, because it's open, we already know how to code it to our own ERP software. But if it's a closed system, that coding work is obviously a lot more difficult and unpredictable and unstable, because it changes all the time. But an open standard, it's right there, right? So it also makes sense on the expenses part of and just the maintenance part of connecting with each other, I think.
Yep, perfect. Just wait for any more final questions. In the meantime, any closing comments? Håvard or Ken?
I think it was, I want to thank you, Daan, for showing this. It was a great presentation, and it's a real creative use of BCF when you can manage and restoration of an old brick wall and managing all the bricks in there. That was a fantastic use case. And I think that shows the powerful capabilities of BCF. And I think, in my mind anyways, BCF doesn't really give service to the technology behind it. BIM collaboration format kind of limits its use case a lot. Daan just showed how flexible and versatile it is. So I think we should start thinking about communicating a lot more about what the OpenCDE API can do for you. Maybe change the name BCF a little bit, and try to tell the stories like Daan has done today. I think that's very important. Get that out there and start spreading the good news about the power of this. I mean, if all the software vendors in the world had implemented support for OpenCDE API, I think collaboration and smoothness in projects all over the world will be much, much better. And that would save us incredible amount of time and money.
Thank you, Håvard. Ken?
Yeah, and I just think it's great for a session like this where we tend to be involved in lots of these things, but we tend to be in isolation. So we talk about openBIM, we talk about BCF, we talk about the different standards, we talk about the different providers, etc. But it's nice to be able to see it all come together, and from a user's perspective of what the real world experiences actually are. So it's great to have the opportunity to join in that. So thank you for inviting us.
Perfect. Thank you, Ken. We have had just another question come in from Pritam. Any comments on how OpenCDE and BCF is being adopted and implemented in the Middle East and India region? Does anyone know about that? Might be a different area.
Yeah, so
I have very little
UK and
insight
Ireland.
into that.
Yeah.
But interesting again, kind of more global vision of that, and I guess potential for more understanding shared. Yeah. Any final comments, Dan?
No, I'm good. Thanks again for hosting. It was great. It was great fun to do, and good to see the comments that people that can inspire somebody. That is pretty much what I tended to do, and so that was great. Thanks a lot, guys.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, I think a lot of appreciation from our attendees. So thank you to all our speakers, Dan, Håvard, and Ken, and thank you attendees for being on the call. Hope to see you all at a future webinar. But thank you again and have a great day, everyone. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.